Greetings, travelers of the Abyss, and thank you for joining me for another session of Lovecraftian tales here on the Great Abyss. Today, I bring you one of the most fascinating stories of all time. In fact, I must confess, it is the one I've read the most. Its name is Dagon, and it's one of Lovecraft's hidden gems among his many works. This story is perhaps the one most rooted in real-world references, as it alludes to numerous real mysteries and enigmas. It mentions Sumerian culture, Dagon, the fish god, and even the Philistines, among many other intriguing topics we will explore together. I can assure you this is one of the stories I've enjoyed the most, and I am excited to share it with all of you. Dagon was written by Howard Phillips Lovecraft in 1917 and published in 1919. It begins with a humble fisherman going about his work, casting his net in rough waters. One morning, however, his life takes a turn when a German corsair ship intercepts him. They capture him as though he were a criminal and hold him prisoner in a small cell aboard the ship for 5 days. Believing his end was near, he summoned his courage. In a brief moment of distraction, he managed to escape, stealing a lifeboat and setting off into the open sea. The boat was stocked with provisions that would last about 6 days, but as time passed, fear and despair gripped him. Alone in the vast ocean, surrounded by the oppressive darkness of the nights, he faced the terror of his isolation, haunted by endless nightmares that robbed him of sleep. One morning, however, he awoke to a strange sight. The water around him had turned into a thick, black, viscous substance stretching across the horizon. His boat slowed as it entered the gelatinous mass, eventually becoming stuck. Upon closer inspection, he realized that the mass was made up of countless dead fish of all sizes, from small ones to massive creatures like whales. Among them were marine beings he couldn't recognize, creatures that seemed alien, as if from an entirely different world. The mass, though slimy, was solid enough to walk on. Venturing onto this dark, putrid surface, he speculated it might have been caused by a volcanic upheaval from the ocean floor, though deep down, he knew that wasn't the case. As night fell, the moonlight illuminated the grotesque scene, revealing skeletal remains, discarded bones, and the lifeless eyes of countless dead creatures scattered across the black expanse. The eerie silence of this place was even more unsettling than its macabre appearance. One night, plagued by more nightmares, he woke to see something unusual in the distance, a large mound rising above the otherwise flat landscape. Determined to investigate, he began his trek, resting periodically as he slowly made his way to the mound. When he finally reached it, he was astonished by what he saw. The slimy mass covering the ocean was far more extensive than he had imagined, and the mound itself revealed massive fissures like gaping chasms in the dark surface. Among these cracks stood a monolithic stone, its surface covered with strange carvings. The monolith seemed to emit a faint, otherworldly glow. As he examined the carvings, he realized they belonged to a long-lost civilization, one that had perished thousands of years ago. He couldn't decipher the writing, but its presence hinted at something ancient, mysterious, and terrifying lurking beneath the surface of this dark and alien landscape. Perhaps the only recognizable details he could discern from the monolith were hieroglyphic-like carvings, not Egyptian, but something similar. These pictograms depicted various marine animals, whales, small fish, large fish, and grotesque sea creatures entirely unfamiliar to humanity. These alien forms added to the eerie landscape of darkness and decay. Amid these symbols, he noticed something even stranger. Figures that appeared humanoid, but weren't fully human. They had the features of both humans and fish, resembling beings that were half man, half fish. This immediately brought to his mind Dagon, the Philistine god, a deity depicted as part human and part fish, just as seen in other ancient cultures. The humanoid shapes also reminded him of anthropological finds, such as the infamous Piltdown Man, figures from humanity's distant past. However, there was something deeply unsettling about these symbols, something that didn't sit right with him. His unease turned into dread when he discovered two massive eyes observing him from the darkness. These belonged to an enormous creature that had been watching him silently, waiting. The beast suddenly revealed itself, coiling its massive slimy body around the monolith. Its appearance was overwhelming, a monstrous fish-like being of colossal size, with faintly humanoid features. The sight of this creature was too much for the man to bear. He lost his mind almost instantly. His memories became fragmented after that moment. He vaguely recalled the grotesque scene of corpses and sea creatures dissolving back into the ocean, the dark slime receding. At some point, he found himself adrift once more, aimlessly floating, until he was rescued by an American ship. When he awoke in a hospital in San Francisco, he was tormented by mental instability. Every time he tried to recall what had happened, visions of the monstrous creature would overwhelm him, plunging him back into madness. Though his mind was fractured, he was certain of one thing: that night had sealed his fate. He knew his death was imminent. Determined to document his experience, he wrote down his story in a manuscript, hoping that someone in the future might investigate the horrifying truth hidden in the open seas. His final words were haunting. "The end is near. I hear a sound at the door, as though a massive slippery body is pressing against it with all its weight. It will find me. My God, that hand, the window, the window." As you've seen, there are many fascinating elements woven into this story. For example, the mention of the Piltdown Man adds a layer of intrigue. The Piltdown Man was once thought to be the missing link between modern humans, Homo sapiens, and our ancient ancestors. Discovered in 1908 near Piltdown, Sussex, it was heralded as one of the most significant anthropological finds of its time. However, the discovery turned out to be a hoax, with the fossil being a combination of a human skull and an orangutan jaw. This wasn't definitively exposed until 1953. You are likely aware that the Piltdown Man is more than just a passing mention. It's steeped in historical intrigue. Let me delve deeper, referencing Lovecraft's works and the broader implications. The Piltdown Man, considered for decades as the missing evolutionary link between Homo sapiens and ancient human species, has its own strange story. Discovered in 1908 near Piltdown, Sussex, it was thought to be the fossilized skull of a primitive human found alongside a jawbone resembling that of an ape. This so-called discovery was not debunked until 1953, revealing it as one of the greatest scientific hoaxes in history. Lovecraft's reference to the Piltdown Man taps into its symbolic power. By including it, he plays on the idea of hidden truths and mysteries in humanity's past. His suggestion of ancient civilizations that share traits with us, or that predate us entirely, reflects a theme present throughout his works: humanity as a small, fragile part of a vast, incomprehensible history. Lovecraft's fictional universe hints that these civilizations, far older and more advanced, may still exert influence over us in ways we cannot fathom. When Lovecraft brings in Dagon, he opens a gateway to ancient mythology. The deity Dagon, revered by the Philistines, is described as a hybrid figure, part human, part fish. This echoes across mythological and cultural traditions. In the Bible, Dagon is central to a story where his temple in Gaza is destroyed by Samson. This tale, however, is more than just a biblical narrative. It symbolizes humanity's interaction with the unknown and its attempts to conquer it. Going deeper, Dagon, or Oannes, as he is known in other traditions, is linked to the Sumerians and Akkadians. These ancient cultures described him as a being with a human upper body and a fish-like lower body, emerging from the sea to teach humanity agriculture, order, and civilization. His myth aligns with similar deities across cultures, representing figures who bring knowledge from the depths, often interpreted as metaphors for the unconscious or the unknown. Lovecraft's Dagon parallels this mythological tradition, but adds his signature cosmic horror twist. In the story, the creature is not a benevolent teacher, but a terrifying entity embodying humanity's insignificance. The protagonist's descent into madness is a metaphor for what happens when humanity comes face to face with the incomprehensible. The monolith covered in strange symbols, the grotesque fish-like beings, and the immense creature watching from the depths all serve as symbols of an ancient and indifferent cosmos. What's fascinating is how Lovecraft weaves historical and mythological references into his fiction. The Piltdown Man, for instance, becomes a touchstone for humanity's quest to uncover its origins, only to find deception, or worse, truths too horrifying to comprehend. Similarly, Dagon, as a deity, serves as a bridge between historical worship practices and Lovecraft's invented mythos. The suggestion that ancient deities like Dagon were real beings connects his stories to human history and prehistory in a way that blurs the line between fact and fiction. When we consider the cultural and religious significance of Dagon, particularly among the Philistines, and its echoes in Sumerian and Babylonian mythology, we realize that Lovecraft's narrative reaches far beyond mere storytelling. Dagon is also associated with the Amorites of Mari, a city-state in ancient Mesopotamia, and with agricultural gods who were said to bring knowledge to humanity. This knowledge often came at a cost, representing the paradox of enlightenment. With greater understanding comes greater danger. Lovecraft's genius lies in using these myths to suggest that humanity's grasp of reality is tenuous. When he incorporates figures like Dagon, he is hinting at a deeper truth, that ancient myths may contain fragments of historical memory, distorted over millennia, of real encounters with incomprehensible beings. Finally, this story connects to larger themes in Lovecraft's work, including humanity's fragile place in a universe dominated by ancient alien forces. The protagonist's final descent into madness, with his cryptic last words about the slippery hand at his door and the horror at his window, encapsulates the ultimate Lovecraftian fear. That knowledge, far from liberating us, only reveals how insignificant and powerless we truly are. The tale of Dagon is not just a story of a man's encounter with a monstrous being. It's a microcosm of Lovecraft's entire worldview, blending historical mystery, ancient myth, and existential terror into one unforgettable narrative. And so, concludes our journey into the depths of Dagon, a story that blends mythology, terror, and the unfathomable mystery of the cosmos. But now, I want to hear from you, travelers of the abyss. What do you think Dagon symbolizes in this story? Is it simply a reflection of humanity's fear of the unknown? Or could it represent something deeper about our connection to the past and our insignificant place in the universe? What are your thoughts on the links to the Piltdown Man and ancient mythologies like those of the Sumerians and Philistines? Share your ideas in the comments. I'm eager to read your theories and reflections. This channel thrives on your input, so don't hesitate to join the conversation. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so we can continue exploring more tales of mystery and cosmic horror together. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.